This young Palestinian boy who was murdered, I heard one news commentator refer to them as Israeli militants. And quite often when we hear about the Palestinians, we think of Hamas or Palestinian militants. Are there really strong militant groups on both sides?
It's a difficult term to use, the word militant. It assumes certain behaviors. Mm-hmm. And what I will say is that on the Palestinian side, there have been long-standing militants. There have been terrorist organizations that have been involved in committing terrorist attacks against Israelis. There are, however, groups within Israel that have volatility that are known to commit acts as well. They're not nearly as well known as those in the Palestinian territories, and are not nearly as well organized, but certainly they exist. Some commentators have recently noted that there are groups that support certain soccer clubs, like Beitar Jerusalem, for example. The six Israelis that were arrested, the Jewish militants that you described, have links to Beitar Jerusalem, and so it's caused something of a debate within Israel as to whether this kind of hardcore group of supporters for the soccer team is actually linked with this crime. Three of them have confessed, and I think what we found is that there is this militancy that's involved here within this group.
If you're just tuning in, friends, thank you for joining us. As you know, there's been much political discourse and news reporting about the loss of life we had some Israeli teens, three of them that were killed, and of course then what seemed to be looking like, of course, it was a response to this. We had a Palestinian boy who apparently he was burned. And so because of this, things have been very, very tense there in the Middle East. Discussing this with us is Dr. Glen Duerr, the Assistant Professor of International Studies at Cedarville University in Cedarville, Ohio. If you were to initiate peace talks yourself, if they gave you the privilege, based on what you know, what would be the starter issues that would be on the table?
I think it's the border. It's the right of return. That's a big issue in terms of people. It's constitutional rights as to who can live within each state. It's also trust is a major issue. Since there are ongoing issues between the two sides, a long history of conflict, trust is quite minimal. I would start with those main issues.
How about the use of land, and whether or not, if Israel doesn't give up any more land, can there be serious discussions?
I'm not sure that there will be serious discussions in the short term. I think it's something that could happen in the long term. But certainly there are major issues at play. That is, the Palestinians right now have what's known as a youth bulge. That is a massive demographic group moving through, much like the baby boom in the United States. And so I see a shift in power, a shift in desires amongst Palestinians that simply may take time. They may be more accepting of a different type of resolution. Those that are in power right now really are much more stringent. They don't want any type of deal to come forward. Israel has on a number of occasions looked to move towards a two-state solution, but it's currently being rejected over the issue of land. And I think in the short term, there's not much that can be